Okay, here we are in El Gran Capitan. We have, we've gotten through the first third of the year or so, and in this new campaigning season, De Leyva is pushing up this road. There's not a lot of resistance, but it's still hard to move forward when there's any resistance at all. The fact that you have to have attack orders and everything, the fact that Spain has very few points is an issue here. For similar reasons, Cordoba has kind of squeezed his way between the river lines and is trying to get access to these roads to go forward and press the attack on the French. He's under a bit of a time limit. The French are getting a lot of reinforcements. They're getting some this turn, but they're getting some here and here, fairly large amounts that might change the nature of the combat. The initial attack that Cordoba made, that bold strike against, I don't remember his name, starts with an N. Let's see who he is. Namur, that destroyed him, completely handcuffed the French from being able to make any advances. But Cordoba's reticence historically to launch a campaign until he had more forces was reflected, and he really was not able to go on any further after that. He got a big advantage, but he couldn't take advantage of that advantage. Meanwhile, the French are in the lead because they've gathered up some territories up here. They had more action points coming to them, so they could grab up more territory in south-central Italy or whatever, central Naples. And yeah, right now Albini is in the process of, he's not quite sieged, and Allegre has not quite sieged, but they're in the position of reducing a couple of locations. Meanwhile, Paredes is up here. He made some kind of swinging movement, was really exciting, but he got cut off last year from supply. And now he's just sort of dying on the vine here. He's not taking any losses, but he can't do any of the cool shit that I thought he was going to be able to do. I thought I was going to be up in Naples controlling it and everything. I just didn't have the action points to do shit, which is not something that I expected, but if I was more familiar with the scenario when I was playing it, I wouldn't have done a lot of the moves that I did. However, everything is kind of designed to give a case of the slows to the Spanish, who should, in my opinion, after that defeat of Namur, have been freed from the Cordoba, like, whatever the restrictions are. Instead of giving a scripting that's like, you know, if you haven't defeated this many armies, you keep getting low points. He should have had more action points available to him after defeating that army. Instead, he's turning out to look like a laughingstock, as opposed to someone who, you know, the way the rule is designed to reflect Cordoba's reticence to engage a stronger enemy. But that enemy was no longer stronger, and he should have had the resources available to basically win the game. But, you know, the way that it's managed, it scripts you into, well, if you use all your resources and somehow manage to defeat Namur because he's stupid and comes too close to you, too bad. You're still going to be equally held up in your position. It feels wrong. You know, obviously I could house rule shit, but I just didn't feel like modifying the intention of the game. To me, it feels like the intention doesn't reflect, like, the attempt to prevent him is coming at the wrong level. It's coming at the supply level rather than his unwillingness to engage. And he would have been willing to engage had he won that major victory. Meanwhile, we've got, you know, issues. I've got, like, the Spanish planning on moving their supplies back over here because this just isn't working, and I've got this annoyance here. If it died, it would have been better, but honestly, there was a reason I was set up over in this area to begin with. This is the axis of advance I want to make, and it's just more efficient for me to have that there. Guess that's about it. The French could probably pull their supplies back if they get a turn where they're not going to spend any, back as far as Naples, just to give it a little bit more protection, because I've got a force coming and I got nothing really defending this except baronial troops. However, that's going to change next turn. Forces come in here, so, you know, hey. All right, that's it. Tomorrow's a dancing day. I really doubt I'm going to be up here again, but I might end up not dancing, or I might end up, you know, with my weird sleep schedule causing me to come up here and play another turn or something. Who knows? Here it is Friday night, and yeah, I didn't go out dancing. You know, I woke up feeling achy and tired and everything. It's cold out. I figured if I'm coming down with a little bit of a cold or whatever, it's going to get a lot worse if I go out. And if I'm not, well, the idea of going back to sleep sounded good. So that's what I did. So we're here in the first turn of June, economic turn. We got fair weather. No sheep though, right? We had the sheep. Yeah, you wouldn't want to let your sheep still be fuzzy in June. And yeah, looks like we got a reinforcement coming in. The minor Capitan, I don't know when he comes in. I know, I looked it up before. Always looking these up. Lazio or Terra di Lavoro. Lazio being Rome. With any order. And some arquebusiers, which gives us some firepower. But got to figure out our orders. I realize I fucked up looking at the timing on the turn. The administrative points come before the supply source, so I wouldn't have moved it last turn. I would be moving it this turn. The French got a total of 1 point. Let's see what the Spanish are going to be looking at. We're looking at 1, 2 distant, which isn't too bad. I just don't want to give them too much of an advantage off of this. 8 is a good roll. That gets me my full 3 points. French not getting a lot, but they have a lot backed up. I got the previous attacks in place. And this is not a baronial turn. Now we begin the supply source movement. And I issue orders. A little iffy on my, I'm going to have to, unless I take retreat orders, a little iffy on my French continuing their sieges here. This one's probably okay. If I draw Cordoba up that way, that's actually probably for the best. But Albini here, taking a stand order, might not be the wisest move. I mean, it's not like it's hard to tell. It's not like I really need to defend this location, but it's not a bad location defensively. I think I'll stick with that. Trying to consider as well, so La Police, I've got with a garrison order. Now I have to reconsider this. He can't, the extra troops can't actually show up here. I may release a unit to get La Police more forces there. Although, this may not be where I want to defend either. So right now, I had the French at 2. Or at 1. Yeah, they're barely at 1. They're in this Basilicata. Or Licata. Barely. I find the provincial borders crossing as the means of determining distance to be really problematic. Because it's not an area control type game. You know, the movement is not done by areas. It's done by hexes, and the areas are difficult to, they hold too much importance and they're difficult to ascertain. You know, if it was just an area connection game and I didn't have to worry about the details of the map, then it would be fine. But the truth of the matter is, if there's a shorter distance road, I kind of prefer, the Zucker games use how far along the road are you? They might have provincial boundaries for one reason or another. And it makes sense with the political control and the flipping and everything, even though that would still be problematic. But it really doesn't make sense, you know, when if I have to swing around through most of the province on maybe worse roads than if I were, say, coming from here up to there. I don't know. You know, the provincial boundaries aren't enough. Of course, it's provincial boundaries in conjunction with roads, which does cause some issues, but it causes issues where, like, moving through a hex or two down here counts as an entire province, and that feels wrong too. So, yeah, that's one of my bigger grumps. Yeah. There's a problem. If Cordoba wants to attack this space, it's going to cost, or enter it, it's going to cost him all 3 of his action points. If he wants to move, it'll cost him 2. I just don't have much. And that 2 to move, now I would still have a source coming up this way for supply, but I wouldn't be able to do the conversion and switch my, my location unless I take this. And the thing is, I have 3 points, right? I could attack, I could dispatch somebody to attack, that'll cost 1. It's still only 1 to attack with a minor force, and then 2 for Cordoba to move forward and press on. Or, I don't know what else, you know? I could move across up here and continue with De Leyva, who could use an attack order to get through here. This is vital to the victory in the game, right? It's more important than the rest of the areas because Naples, control of Naples becomes a key thing. Plus it links me up to this. So I'm kind of thinking that what I want to do is give De Leyva an attack order for 1. Do I want to move Cordoba? Well, I got to spend at least 1 because I'm not in good terrain. And in fact, if the weather gets bad, it's going to be very bad. So I guess I have to give him the rest of my points then. It's not ideal at all. Leaving this force here is not ideal. Although I could dispatch, you know, I could reorganize and dispatch someone to command a couple of these baronial forces at some point or another in order to lay siege to that and clear that out eventually. But I think that means that I do not want my supplies to change because I'm going to be tracing up this way, I guess. It makes me unhappy when there's a sequence of play that requires me to figure out far more in advance in the sequence of play to be able to take the action. So for example, the decision on this, and that's why I'm reversing these things, because I am incapable of figuring out everything I need to do without wasting a lot of extra time and then going back and trying to do it. That's just not the way I operate well. Again, with so many different separate commands and so few points, a lot of them aren't doing anything. And this really sucks, right? Like, Cordoba supposedly was unwilling to advance because he felt like he had a troop disadvantage. But his troop advantage is spread all over hell and creation. He's not really able to consolidate them. And that may be one of the lessons that one learns in this scenario is, okay, so don't advance with Cordoba. Use what few points you have to get him a big force, one that's basically undefeatable. Because I don't feel like he's particularly potent. Yeah, he might be able to take, he probably is able to take Albini out in a field battle. In a siege, at least I got cannons, and siege engineers and artillery and whatnot. But outside of that, it's kind of a, if I manage to lose my artillery or something, I'm just in trouble, right? I'm not going to be able to advance any further. Because the way sieges work, it's very hard to take something, just by starving it out or whatever. And that might be perfectly reasonable and realistic and everything. It's a different mindset that I'm used to. And if I had a big enough force, maybe I could. I don't know. The biggest thing that gets in my way is the mindset of Cordoba being unwilling to advance until he had, more troops available and felt like he has an equal thing. When I do have the advantage, still not being able to advance because of rules for the same thing. And now, when I have tons of troops, I don't have the points to use them, so it doesn't help either. Daniel's doing some minor movements here, moving up to support whatever the hell Allegre is doing. He doesn't have room for another unit, but he can garrison and whatnot as I split off. This guy didn't move. He tried, but he couldn't. This guy probably heading up to rush here because the Spanish ones are flooding over. If I take one more place without losing that in Basilicata, it becomes friendly to me, which is a big deal. Might make this siege untenable, actually, because it's in unfriendly territory. And that'll get me to the Capitanos. Got a couple of their garrisons to try to get French Minor B a decent roll on movement. Cordoba going against them forces them to put their activation markers out. But then he gets a good move. He runs all the way up here. Now this is actually out of supply. Barely, but it's out of supply. It won't be if I had shifted my supply source. But actually maybe it's not. Hold on. 1, 2. Yeah, I don't own this yet. That's French. That's the problem. But I'm counting on being in supply by the next time the orders matter. However, I've run all the way up here, and now I can't do an attack order. I'm not going to have the 2 points to do so. I don't know what I'm going to do. Now I could shift down or something along those lines, but that could be an expensive move to do in terms of movement points, and shift my focus to combining up with De Leyva, which would give me that larger force ahead. Anyway, let's continue with whatever else is moving. Look at our movements. First of all, we have an attack coming here. I put the river crossing marker on there to help remind me that he had to cross a river. Minor Captain going to join La Police. That means Police is going to get these 6 troops. I actually don't know. I don't think he gets the maneuver command when he takes control. And I can put this French minor. He could join, but I can also just dismiss him very shortly. So I'm going to put him over here, give me access to him as I need him. Couple of sieges here. Cordoba, I don't know what I'm doing with him. I probably should have put him here. He'd be in supply then and be closer to making that move. I'm just going to cheat him over there. I also forgot to move Colonna during the Cordoba move, and he should get this. That is Prospero. That way, maybe I can start gathering forces, and the force he took over would have a garrison order, I guess. Again, I don't think you inherit orders when you take over a command, so whatever. But that'll help me not fuck up later. All right. Okay. The sieges are going to be attrition checks only, so we've got a battle here. De Leyva is hitting this thing. Okay. This will be, we always have to look it up. De Leyva has the HIF. These guys are in entrenchments, so I can't force them to attack me, so I must attack them. Which means I will be hitting them. Now I'm in the mountains. Let's take a look at terrain here. In the mountains, my cav is going to be a 0.5, and I'm affecting terrain. I have a lot of cav, and we forgot to challenge. Oh, Cordoba's not close enough. So we have a total of 6 strength points to 1. That gives us a +2 to the die roll. Quality. Quality is going to be 2. Quality of the opponent is a 1. So we're sitting at +1 in affecting terrain at +2. I don't think these guys can ambush the, well, they're also French, so they can't. So that's it. What did the river do? Maybe we ignored the river. Affecting if opposing river crossing applies, yeah. Well, we had affecting anyway. Guess that river wasn't terribly useful. We roll a total of 6, which is a good roll. Not the only good roll. And given what we're facing, it's peachy keen. So, this goes there. Figure out where the river crossing goes. And we take that battle away. And I don't know that these are the only attrition checks. Cordoba has a large force in still unfriendly terrain, so I'm sure he has one as well. So he has 4, 8, 13, 16, 17, 18 points. I know where this one is. Which puts me over here. I have a star, which I think gives me a -1 to the die roll. I don't know if I played that before. So he's fine. Albini is in a contested hex with 4, 5, 6, 10, 12. Which goes badly for him. He takes a point. As my Swiss are disappearing. And the remaining one is up here. Allegre, who is in unfriendly terrain but doesn't have a chance of dying, but the Spaniards do. And they do. So Canossa falls. Going to Canossa being a good thing for him, I guess. What is this? Otranto is over here. This goes away. And what did we gain? De Leyva pushed his way across. He's threatening this. They're going to have to probably fall back or something. I know how many troops De Leyva has, though, and I'm not entirely opposed to fighting him with La Police, with firepower armed troops, whatever that affects. I think that has an effect. You'd think it must, right? I don't see it there. I think it's only if you use the firepower, but it also can affect, it might be able to affect screening in some sort of way. But if you're looking at one force versus another, it's not going to. So yeah, that's going to be pretty much just standard combat. And Albini not gaining anything on his side at all. But here, both the roads going north-south have fallen more under another side's control. Remember, this is Venetian. I can't do shit about it. I can walk through it, but... And if I'm parked there, he can't use it as a supply source. Actually, I don't think I'm allowed to park there. I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah, not a lot happened. Which feels like sort of the rule of this game. Not a lot happens. I feel like I'm putting a lot of effort in, and it may be mainly just my own personal struggles with the system, but I'm putting a lot of effort in and not getting a lot out of it. And that's how I felt about most of the Zucker games. I gotta say, the one that I didn't feel that way about is Napoleon at Bay. I don't know why. Everything clicked on that one. And like, it's the same basic rules as the other games in his series, you know, in his operational system, more or less. Yet, maybe just the terrain and the victory conditions and everything just made a lot of sense to me. Whereas in the others, I'm like always struggling with with all the mechanisms in play. It's as if, you know, the victory conditions, my goals, and the terrain, the hindrances, are all getting in the way of me being able to really enjoy the system as much. And here I feel the same kind of feeling as I do in most of them. Although, you know, the rules are different in this. Continuing along, pushing into 2nd June. I guess the biggest question is Cordoba here with his maneuver order. Might I want to force the order? And if I do, I, you know, do a comparison and all that. And it's not something that I can think, you know, that I can grasp the rules enough at this point. I'd be looking at, you know, first of all, he's got a large force. It would probably come out of it not ready to attack. But the other thing is, this is a horrible turn to do that in, right? I'd be getting an attack marker. Let's say everything goes well. I'd be getting an attack marker. Then I'd have a previous attack on me. So I want to set myself up to be able to do 2 attacks, essentially. And I think cutting down to here, where I have options in either direction, is the better move. I'm going to leave myself in the maneuver. That's what I had decided to do. What about De Leyva? Well, the attack order could get me to here. I could get rid of that attack order, slow my roll forward, but I think taking this is actually worth it. Although there's some argument for switching from attack to maneuver. The problem with that is, because I'm not the main force, changing to maneuver still costs me 1, even though I'm on attack order. So there's no advantage to doing that except getting rid of that previous attack marker. Yeah, I don't know which one gives me the better move. There's a good chance that these guys will fall back, in which case I may not be able to get to them to launch the attack that I want to, but I don't have the flexibility to do this. So I'm going to hold off on that as well. I'm just kind of, you know, going through my thinking as to where the orders are going to land. So I think they're going to stay the same as they are. I'll look through the baronials, see if there's anything I want to convert. I don't know if I mentioned the weather is fair again. French, there's an interesting question too. La Police here. I was thinking, the other forces, but La Police has a force now. I could move up into position behind this river line, make it harder for an attack to happen. I don't think I want to spend the point on that. Sitting here at Salerno, this is a good place. Oh, why didn't I move back to... Oh, I'll tell you why I didn't move back. I was wondering why I didn't move the supplies back here. Here's the argument. This road is giving the French supplies at the 1 hex distance. I don't want to fuck with that necessarily. Although, it might make sense to get out of here early. But I don't know. I don't think it makes too much of a difference. Whatever's holding this road either holds it or doesn't. But I'm a little far forward. And, a force here, a couple baronials, and I'm cut off, besieged, and there's problems. But we'll leave it as it is. Obviously, this is not the turn to move the supply, despite what I thought earlier, looking at this sequence of play. I think that I did it this way before. It's not a big deal. It's just there's one turn, on the every other turn rhythm, there's one turn where you want to move it and one where you don't. And this is the turn you don't want to move it because you won't have it available. You don't want to start the movement because you won't have it available on your next chance. Baronials. These guys fell back. I advanced some up here. Great, whatever. And advance over here, nothing too exciting. Pushing down through Potenza and taking Muro, that's enough. I'm going to put a marker here to remind me that that Basilicata is going to convert. Does that cause real problems for the French? Not really. I'm already undertaking, and I should have a siege marker on this. I've been lazy with these. I don't know how much, Matt. I know what's going on in those. We have the forces from Bari coming up to join Colonna. That'll give him enough that he could kind of safely do a siege if he wants to. The expenditure of the command points may not be worth it, but it means that I've got this really tenuous supply line going on here. And it's important that this guy stayed where he is to kind of prevent this from being able to intercept it, although it can catch up here or something. So, got some real problems, and I'm not able to supply on this coast in this scenario. In Ferrandino's War, I was. Let's see what else we got there. This guy, I've got a 2 on him. He only made 1 activation. But what happened was, it was as a reminder for the camera more than anything else. He didn't get enough movement points to move into the mountains here where he really wanted to move. Now, I could have done a 2nd activation. And I thought, he's not that likely to get an attrition hit, right? He's a 1 strength point unit. Yeah, but every movement point I expend adds to that. So even if I moved into here, I'd have a 50-50 chance of being destroyed. So attrition is really nasty, and forced marches are painful in this. I think even more painful than they are in the Zucker games, and I almost never do them there. It's sort of a matter of, unless it's a life or death for the scenario, it's really hard to convince myself it's worth it. On to the commanders. French aren't doing anything. Oh, Allegre's got a stand order. What's up with that? Well, I didn't want to spend movement. Although I could have, I'm in command, I could have spent movement to try to pursue further down. I don't think it's worth it at this point. But if I can put a threat down here at Bari, that potentially cuts off all these other supply sources other than Reggio. And it also puts a threat on this line if it gets developed somehow. High priority? I don't know yet. Might be more important to have gotten to get my forces back here. Either way, I'm okay with him not doing anything. He could drop to garrison. Doesn't really make a difference either way. And is he in? He's in a fort, so yeah. All right, first pick, the French can essentially pass. I don't think there's anything that they need or want to do because earthworks don't even help them, which means it makes it easier. I can just move a couple of Spanish units that have orders to do so. Not a whole hell of a lot happening there. Cordoba going into the mountains, finding himself back on a road, in supply now, happy as can be. I think he was in supply before. As soon as this fell, he was. And that means, and De Leyva had to do a river crossing. He didn't get enough movement points to do anything funky. So, battle-wise, we still have this siege operation undergoing. But battle-wise, we have De Leyva hitting this. This is a 1 quality. We are in wooded hills now, which have the cav again. So we've got basically the same situation. That doesn't cause affecting terrain, but the river crossing does. So we're in the same situation we were in before. We liked that enough, so we're at 6 to 1, which puts us at the +2, at +1 on the affecting because our quality is better. And this time we don't get as good a die roll. The attacker takes a hit and loses the battle. That's going to force the attacker to leave. First thing we have to do is make a discipline check. Modifiers. Not a recovery. Oh. We'll be using this. We have quality 1, 2, and 3 on here. I think there's no modifiers. We get a 5, which is not good. That gets us a demoralized for the weakest unit. That's this guy. He's going to require recovery to come back. A failure for the type 2s. They are not big enough, so they also will be demoralized. Ruh-roh. And the final unit passes. And then also we have to retreat our full movement allowance. So that's 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4.5, 5 back to here. That's going to kill that unit. Well, it's going to cause a displacement actually of the unit. But yeah, not a good situation. De Leyva got beaten at the river. This guy looks brilliant now. He has turned back a size 6 times for 6 times his size by defending the river line. On the other hand, the Spanish got the bad attrition check over here, so they die. He does not get the earthworks out of them, which is a little weird. It kind of feels like, I mean, sure, they'd be destroyed. So they'd be damaged enough. You'd have to spend points to fix them, so that only makes sense, I guess. But what's big about that is that now we have 2 more in here, which means the Spaniards only have 1, 2, this might be important, 3. That is part of this. There's this little... So, this actually remains French. Oh, Cordoba probably had an attrition check as well. 2, 4, 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Forgot to check him. That was still French no matter what. And he also loses 1 because of his bonus star. As his forces are beginning to melt away. Luckily, he has these crappy baronials, but they're running out. And I can't really, like, reinforce from back here. Interesting. Things turned really badly against the Spaniards this turn, I would say. Losing this, not gaining control of Basilicata this turn, and then De Leiva's battle went poorly for him. I feel like this is all a matter of, really luck. The combat table is highly variable. When you can attack at 6-1 odds, and it puts you on this. Now, I had a +2, but yeah, I needed to roll a 3 or higher to get a victory because of the river crossing. Against lower quality troops. But yeah, if I had, I was in a situation here where I had, these guys are not. I did this wrong. These guys are the ones who passed. These guys would have taken a hit instead of being demoralized. I would rather be demoralized because I got to recover my units anyway, but that's life. So yeah, my force is significantly smaller. Cutting those river lines, maybe I don't want to take all these hits. I'll still have 4-1. The hell with it. All right, that's that, and it is definitely time for me to do some raid at this point. I know I was getting close to the time. I don't know if I'll be, chances are I'll be up again tonight, but it's weird because I took a nap at a weird time, and like, when I could have gone dancing, I basically decided, I want to cover up. I want to cuddle up under my electric blanket and be warm. All right, continuing on our happy way. Kind of interesting. Somebody mentioned that since I don't really use my bathroom up here, I mean, I do. I piss when I'm up here because I can't just walk outside. That's only in the basement that I do that. But that I could store games or something in there. Space is not an issue for me. I've got like extra rooms that I use to store shit in my hoarding ways. In fact, I really just need to get rid of shit. But I thought that's really not appropriate. Bathrooms are meant to store secure documents and the like. Anyway. Here we are in July. Let's take a quick check. Good chance of heat. Does not happen. And we have our points, which we have to, I don't know if it's still 3-3. It is July 1st. This is the first one where, or this is the last one where the French only get 3. The Spaniards are going to get cut down to 2. They're having enough trouble, right? The French have a good advantage in terms of getting the sheep, so they're always going to have a lot of points. The Spaniards have so many commanders, so few points. This is hard, man. Okay. So for the French, what is our distance? We can't go this way anymore. So we got to come up this way. 1, 2, and then we're behind this at 3, which is not cool. It's over here. I saw it. I didn't have to flip them all over. And with a 6, that's -1, so I get 2 of these. And then the Spaniards have a nominal of 2 at a distance of 1. Where are you, buddy? I can't make it that way. So 2. I I do make it through here. So they're also at 3. They get an 8, lucky them, so they get their full 3. This is a big deal, because without 3, you can't even do an attack amount, an attack action with your commander. It's really, like, the command points are really, really fucking tight. I don't know if you're supposed to force commands. You know, it seems like such an ugly thing to do in terms of you have to make those discipline checks. And I don't really look too much about these. So like here, I've got some reliable, but I got some sensitive. I kind of don't want my army to fall apart, you know? I have a hard time with taking risks like that in any kind of game where it's like, yeah, but I'll get there eventually. This was a big deal. I'm trying to remember what the game was. Oh yeah, 2038, a similar kind of thing. An economic game, an XX game actually, where you can get claims, and the first one you buy each turn is relatively cheap. For one company it's free, and then but additional ones cost you more. And to get that quicker production and whatnot, you can throw a lot of cash in. But that cash is important for other things as well. And I'm just like, for the same kind of reasons that I refuse to waste my troops, I have a very, very hard time trying to invest that extra cash. You know, it's not like I'm paying a multiple of what, or even close to it. It's like the first one costs X, the second one costs 2X, the third one costs 3X. So I'm like, well, I'll get there eventually, but if you don't claim things, you don't get them. And it's the same kind of thought process here. If I don't push with my troops, I will not reach my victory conditions. Okay, looking at the situation, what did I do? Well, the French feel pretty comfortable with what they're holding right now. They knocked De Leyva back. I need to find out which way Cordoba is going. There's not much I can do. So Albini holding this blocking terrain might force him down this way, but that's fine. Still have to cross the river or else slip down. This terrain isn't bad. Is it? Yeah, but there's a fucking river. Yeah. So I put everybody in garrison except for Alegre, who intends to push further into Bari. If I get enough territories in Bari, I flip it over. I cause lots of problems to the Spanish potentials of supply. And I could flip my supply marker at this point. It is actually hurting me towards Albini, so I am going to flip it. And that means next turn, I won't be able to spend points, which is something of a disadvantage. I kind of like the flexibility. Like I could give Albini a maneuver command if Cordoba heads south. You know what? Chicken butt. Let's leave this here. Let's leave it as it is. For the Spaniards, do I want to switch theirs? Well, let's take a look at what they're doing. First of all, I spent 2 of my 3 points on Cordoba to be able to do something, right? He's got to win the war on his own, basically. I did not, I spent another point here on Spanish Minor A to try to cover Bari, because that looks like it's weak right now. And I can pick up the baronial if I need, you know, whatever. This baronial is going to head over to join Colonna, the goal being to eventually be able to clear this road, but it might not even happen. I mean, there's a lot of scenario, but it's going to be an attrition table rolls to try to take it out. But here's the De Leyva. I definitely want in garrison so that he can recover his troops, whatever. But the Andrade, I don't see a use for him. And in fact, you could make the same argument for Benavides, although he's kind of covering against the potential here. But Benavides has sensitive units. I don't really want to fuck around with them. The Andrade does not. He has mainly reliable, well, he has either reliable or normal. I'm going to try to force him an order, which means I look for the discipline table. And this is going to be reliability class. Do we have any modifiers? Forced order is a +1. Ouch. That is not good. We get a 5, which goes to 6. That means we're demoralized, and FF, the unit could lose 2 SPs if it has more than 3. This is kind of weird. This unit has more than 3, so it loses 2 SPs, and all the rest are demoralized. Well, that's not the result I wanted. But we get our maneuver order. Great. Well, that's why we don't do that, right? You know, my force is a lot weaker, and we aren't doing that with Benavides just because he has a sensitive unit that's... Although it's not really doing me... I could give the sensitive to Pinheiro. Is the sensitive got any reasonable chance? It really has almost no chance of succeeding. I need my troops, and these guys aren't going to be able to do shit unless I take them. All right, we'll go with him too. And again, +1 for forcing orders. That's a 5. The reliable pass, the sensitive is going to be demoralized. And that's what we have. Now, demoralized reduces their movement allowance, but I can move them up into the area and then, you know, try to recover later because I get bonuses for expending movement points during an activation on a recovery check. Though, in order to make a recovery check, you have to have standard garrison orders. So I'm fine with De Leyva, who's going to be making that check. And that actually means you don't necessarily have many movement points because your initiative is equal to 0. So however many movement points you have is going to be somewhat pained. The baronials. This guy moved up to there underneath Allegre. Allegre is leaving the hex, so that's fine. He would be overloaded otherwise. Likewise, though, we have this entering this hex with Prospero Colonna. I'm going to cheat here and put him in with him, just so that I don't forget, because Prospero can't go anywhere and nothing's going to interfere with him. I'm just making things easier. I remembered the road march rules and used them here, and these guys did not, but that's okay. They moved up against the enemy force. That may not be good enough, but we can move them out if need be. These guys forgot to move. Should they have? I kind of like them where they are. We'll turn them upside down. And that's fine. The only real question would be whether I need to cover that. These guys also forgot to move. And I should move them. They're going to have 4 movement points. That's 3, 4. And I won't put a marker there because I've just removed my markers. Okay. Yeah, there's so many pro-Spanish baronials that like get lost and think, oh, they're in a good place, whatever. Well, maybe not. All right, on to the leaders. The thing is, I don't think that I know the initiative of the enemy force. I just rolled Cordoba versus Albini. La Police was in garrison just trying to bust things up. I think Cordoba is going to force Albini to move first because I don't know his orders. If I knew he was in garrison or had a pretty good idea that he would be, I would indicate that. And I probably only see this as a first activation as well. All I know is he didn't do anything. I managed to run the table with Allegre, making it in on a maximally bad roll, which meant he didn't get a chance to dig his earthworks yet. I'm not sure how much of effect that has, because he can't go into garrison anyway. And stand, while it costs 1 as a new order, does not when you change to it. So, which is kind of interesting because you can go from garrison to stand. Now, there's no reason you would do this. If you have garrison rights, you wouldn't do this. You can go from retreat to stand and never pay anything and avoid that 1 point cost. Whereas as a major force, retreat to stand also doesn't cost, because stand doesn't cost anything, but retreat doesn't give you anything towards these other orders. I don't know what I'm saying. It doesn't seem like that big a deal. Okay. Who do I want to do? I think, knowing that I've run the table and hit each one of them once, and they're probably not going to go again, and there are penalties if they do. Well, this is bad, actually. It was important for me to move this first. And now I'm in trouble. But not a hell of a lot of trouble. So I'll move that to try to get there. But one thing I wanted to do, let me just skip to this since I'm running the table. Let's go to De Leyva, who has a recovery situation. He gets a 2 on his die roll. That means he has -2, so he has 3 movement points. So I can give, a -3 to the discipline table? I hope it's a discipline, yeah. Extra wages, I'm not doing that. Oh, no, this is a penalty. Okay. So, yeah. So it doesn't matter what I roll. Okay. Which means I'm in some danger. Now, recovery check doesn't really do much bad unless you get things terrible, like very sensitive. So I get a 6, which is a terrible die roll, which means we got Ds, which means if we have class V, we're in trouble. We do not. We have reliables and normals, which means the reliable gets an FF, nothing happens. We did not recover this turn. And I think I may have just auto-recovered stuff last time I did this, figuring, yeah, but you got to deal with this table. Yeah. Putting DeAndre in an ugly position where he had to march through a road marching unit, so he couldn't do road march himself. I don't think he really wanted to. He's got a full fort. Whoa! Oh, yeah, he's got to recover now. Let's put these disordered units on top to remind me of how bad things are. Okay. And, yeah, and the other problem is De Leyva and DeAndre can't work together. Or DeAndre, I don't know. Andrade. Which I should be able to remember for various reasons. Yeah, so that's, we still got Benavides, who might as well move, and Cordoba. I'll be back in a moment. I know I'm kind of blundering around, but it's because it's hard for me to grasp what's actually going on with this kind of system. Another system that I had a similar problem with, and I loved the system, I think, I'm not sure, was Berg's Ancient Wars or whatever. What the hell are they? It's got to be over there somewhere. The Rise of the Roman Republic, which which is down there, and the Carthage one. And someday soon, Thunderblaw. Look at the remainders here. Get rid of these, which definitely aren't doing anything. Benavides went into road march and is marching his way forward. We already talked about the Andre. Cordoba made it down to here. He did not get a particularly good die roll. He should have used his other roll probably and not canceled out his ability to build earthworks. This guy up here moved 1 hex. This is important because it's the crossroads, but here's the thing. He can march down here and cause a world of pain to me down there. Like, wherever he is, he's like messing with my potential supplies as long as he's down there. So one thing I could do, and especially with somebody like Benavides who has Pinheiro with him, or I could dispatch Colonna to go over with D'Andre, or D'Andrede. But none of that matters if Cordoba's there, because he can command everyone. He can bring a humongous force with him. But if he's not there, I could actually combine forces by looking at what they're able to assimilate together, maybe into a different one of these substitute counters or whatever, so that there's only one commander on the board. That's kind of complicated, though, and painful. Like here, I've got a 2-point infantry and a 3-point infantry. Now, I have a substitution 10-point infantry, so even though these will go over the total, they could get together. I could, of course, get rid of one of these, but this is Moncada. He's not at issue here. This guy can absorb those 3 strength points, but he does not have this type of force with him. So what I could do is dispatch Pinheiro with that and leave him in charge of that and just bring the reinforcements with Benavides up there, if that's the case. De Leyva has regular infantry, which I can't combine in, and then 2 different types of cav. But again, you can see how cumbersome this kind of decision making is going to be. What about the boy? What about the boy? The attrition. What are we facing in attrition here? There's not going to be any modifiers to attrition due to weather. It's fair weather again. Cordoba is still in Basilicata, and that's fine because this is just as bad, which means I have to make a roll for him. I was on a high number there. 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17. At a -1. Yeah. That'll be fine. He's definitely an issue. Others, I got to look for people who are over 10. And Albini might be over 10, but he doesn't have to roll for attrition because he's in happy territory. So we should be all good. Nobody's under siege. This is a contested hex. Uh-oh, this one has a possibility. All right, so Allegre at just 4 doesn't have a problem because the weather's fine. The other guy doesn't have a problem because he's not besieged. Once you're besieged, 6s can hurt you. So yeah, we're done with the turn. I did place the barons, in case you're wondering about my competence in that. I had to remind myself just now, yeah, put them all out. I just didn't talk about it. All right, time to pause for a while. It's so weird not having gone dancing. Like, I missed a couple weeks in a row last year because I was sick, and I missed one because my house was frozen in back in February or March, I think. And, well, worse than frozen, and I had no power. and I think I missed another one because I was kind of sick another day or whatever. Today I clearly could have gone. I'm well enough by far. I don't. The only thing was, I felt like I might be coming down with something. I would never have skipped Once Upon a Time on those kind of conditions. There's also the fact that, like, a couple of weird things. Well, last week, somebody basically bribed the DJ with like a 20 for, to play a bunch of songs. And I'm just kind of like, I hate shit like that. But also, this is like, they rotate DJs, and there's one who's always there. He's the one who got bribed. And this is sort of the least favorite combination I have, which isn't bad. It's just, and it was cold out, and it's supposed to rain and snow, although, even if I walked, I'd be getting home soon, if not already. And I don't think any snow has happened. It's been drizzling and raining, but it's Eugene. I deal with that, right? All right. Okay, July moves to the second half of it, and we got heat now, which means those attrition checks are going to be a little worse. I don't know. The Spaniards don't have any points. They're not gonna fuck with anything except, maybe to stop a force that's like needs to recover. The French, seeing Cordoba head down this way, Albini has a reason to move. Do I want to pay the cost? Probably have to. So a maneuver order for him is 3 at this point. There's an asterisk though. What is that? What's up with that? Let's just subtract the cost, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Like, a maneuver for the whole month would cost me 2. Doing it now is going to cost me 3 because I was in garrison orders. Damn. That's weird. It just feels odd. I think I can hold off. The question is, do I need to? I have decent points, whereas the Spaniards do not. But the Spaniards are not going to be able... Well, I don't know what they have. But I might know how many action points they had. This table is not hidden, although it feels like it should be, right? Like, the pieces on the cards and everything are hidden. The names of the leaders are hidden up to a point. They would almost all be revealed by now anyway. But there's nothing that talks about the APs being hidden, which in a way feels kind of weird because, like, especially if they're looking at the mindset of the commander and whatnot, and not just the actual raw supplies. But even the raw supplies, I probably don't have a good idea of what those are, right? I might have a vague idea, but knowing those points, I know it's safe to hold off, because Cordoba can't afford to attack. Not knowing the points, I'm not at all sure. I can't take the chance anyway. Even if he can't attack, I've got to get my force down there. There's nothing threatening me up here, and I'm going to use baronials to cover this area here. Where plausible, I'm in quarters. I will make that decision when attrition happens, more or less. Some places it's not very plausible. This guy, for example, is not going to be in quarters, because he might be defending, and along that river line. They may have to do some play with, like, this guy, get him out of road march partway along, during his movement, to open up some room. So, well, it's less important now. Benavides is probably not going to not going to make it far enough. So yeah, I think we're ready to start moving. Wait a minute. Just before I went out to light my pipe, I realized, hey, Saluzzo's coming on. Maybe Cordoba did the wrong thing by shifting down, but nah, he's got to face that, right? Saluzzo comes in where? This is going to be August 1. Over here. Sounds like it's raining a little bit again. Lazio or down to Principato Titra, but he's coming in with a fair size amount of force and some artillery. He could break things open along this route, but what it may mean is that I don't want to move Albini at all, and that I'm going to take that point back that I had spent on him. My first thought was about the Spaniards. Do they need to react to this? The problem with having Albini move down in that same direction is if they end up in the same space, it ends up being just one Capitano Generale, which then or Gran Capitano or whatever. I don't know if Capitano Generale is the word or if it's Gran Capitan. I think it's Capitano Generale. Which I may kind of want to keep the flexibility of having two separate commanders that can operate in that way. And I think that Saluzzo is strong enough, although he's not as good. And he has a W. What does a W mean? Like, I don't think it's good. Temporaggio. He's indecisive. So his attack orders will cost one more than normal. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty crappy. Yeah, that's not something I want to have. But, you know, on the other hand, he's going to be trying to defend things. So it's probably safe enough. And that would give me, even though he has my artillery, that would give Albini a chance to advance forward. So I think I'm going to leave Albini where he is, because there's really nothing in my way. Now, does that affect Cordoba? Not really. Naples is too important. I need to make the breakthrough there. All right. Now we move. And I relight my pipe again. Talk instead of play thing. But a lot of the time, you know, I go into so much detail because I am really struggling with sort of the decision-making process in this game. It's really, really rough on me. And some of you may look at it and just say, come on, just play, you know, whatever. Some of you may look at it and say, why are you struggling so much with it? It should just be easy, right? Well, okay. Maybe most of you are better at, you know, avoiding analysis paralysis than I am, probably. But I do get myself caught up in these things, and I think I can't show all possible AP instances, right? But when it's really hitting me, and a lot of games recently have been, I do want to highlight it because I think that's useful in making a decision. Is this a game I can play and enjoy? You know, and by the Baronels, you know, this is such a mess, okay? This one thing. This guy could cut the road here and just cut my supplies line at any time. Now, the next turn he would be destroyed, whatever. So kind of keeping him as a threat might be of some value, but he could really grind the Spanish advance to a halt. And I never have the points for Moncada to put him under siege anymore. Should have just left him there. I think he had him at one point. All right, so we took care of the movement. These guys slipped around the river, outflanking a little bit. These guys got out of their road movement, grabbed Potenza. It's still not enough to take that. This one moved forward. I put this one into essentially quarters, although he doesn't need it, because I don't need to back him up and I don't need to move somewhere else or whatever. My intention had been to move this unit to here and this unit to here, but I don't need to do that now. So to hell with that. That's going to put me to the leaders. Speaking of this unit, before I get to the leaders, let's say I wanted to stop Cordoba from, being able to attack. I couldn't stop him right now, but I could stop him from, and assuming I know these, I could stop him from getting any more damn points next turn. And next turn may be a key turn. It might have been a good turn to choose to make that breakout. I probably need to do it at some point or another. Just when is the question. Room to play around. Cordoba and Alegre went against each other. Alegre ended up being forced. Well, actually I did this first, but Alegre ended up being forced into going first, but it doesn't mean anything. I'm just building the earthworks. There's a siege there. Cordoba has also slipped not off the road to be on this side of the river where he can attack. This guy's actually blocking roadway, but I can skim it this way. DeAndre has moved up and is no longer in road march. If he was, I don't think he was. No. De Leyva failed in his recovery attempts. Benavides moving forward. That should be all of them. The only thing left to do is to roll the attrition. Who's eligible for attrition? Okay. Cordoba is in Principato Citra, which is not good. Of course, this wasn't good either, so that's fine. I think, I don't remember what I was at. 4, 8, 13, 14, 17. It is hot weather, so that cancels out my star. I get a 3. I'm going to lose 1. Do I have another guy sneaking out here? I do not. I don't want to give them up. They're good on certain cool stuff. I'll take one of these away. I can always combine those. And I don't know if that'll give me like a larger unit where I have like this little guy. If I could combine him with someone else to make, a unit that's not on. I don't think so. Who else? We'll do that last. Albini doesn't have to check. It's still his territory. No one else is big. But a +1 is problematic still for anyone. So yeah, we got to look. So there might be some small stuff that dies. The French look like they're in good shape, with the exception of Alegre. This guy has snuck in. He's in quarters though, so he can negate that. This guy could die. That would be a big deal. Because then I could take it without taking an attack order. I could just release a baronial to go grab it. Although that's not a fortified. That's just earthworks to be in quarters. Wow, that could be dangerous. I don't think he's in quarters. I think he's too much at risk to have been in quarters. I would have put a marker if I wanted to do that. Just like this guy's not in quarters, and I'm going to have to check for him. And other than Cordoba's loss, nobody is affected by attrition. So we move forward to the next economic turn, which is going to also be where Saluzzo comes in. And again, he's the person who's going to be defending this area. Albini possibly pressing this way. Much as this looked like it was, a Spanish blowout when they took Dude. Oh, what's his name? Namur. I'll never remember it. It's like Belgium, man. When he took Namur down, it looked like, hey, there's nothing in the way. It's going to be easy. Maybe. So I'm pretty sure that I erred at that point. If I was going to take that bold move, I should have continued onward, using forced orders and whatnot, and grabbed most of Naples. The fact that I didn't do that is why the Spanish are losing at this point. However, let's say it had held off and, collected up the couple of points, had maybe 4 or 5 more command points. I don't really feel like the Spanish would be doing much better than they are right now. Especially with Namur still alive and operating and everything. This every time I face this game, it feels like any kind of offensive operations are just so damn hard. And I'm not able to get historically, accurate, the historical results. But I'm not willing to just sign off and say, hey, the game's not accurate because of that. I'm willing to say I'm not capable of conducting offensives in this game with any wisdom or whatever. Well, it's daylight now on Saturday. I was watching a video and from a guy who does a lot of scripts and whatnot. He doesn't write his own stuff, doesn't know much. In fact, it's kind of laughable how little he knows, but he speaks well. And, but he throws these comments in, and one of them had to do with, the fact that the day changes at midnight, and that if you're awake, and this was 3 a.m, but then he put it to if it's 1 a.m. or whatever, it's still the same day as it was. Yeah, but at some point it changes, and I don't know, 1 a.m, yeah, I don't know if I care either way. I don't really care what day it is at that, if I'm out drinking or whatever, and that's what's happening. But my schedule is so, loose from reality that most people live in. I am going to bed at 11 a.m. or whatever. It's it doesn't even make sense to track. Anyway, here we are in August, which is likely to be hot. Makes sense. And it is indeed hot. And we're going to get Saluzzo here, who again comes in over in this area. It is a economic turn without anything special on it. Let's this is I think where the points shift. So now we're on August 1st. So the French get 4, the Spanish only get 2 as their base. So if we look at, there it is, the French, and this is when we move our supply source if we want to. The French are unable to trace this way, which means it comes up this way, and they are 2 away. With a big 8, that means I get the full 4. And again, I got tons of points to play with. Saluzzo is going to come in under orders too, I bet. And the Spaniards are 1, 2. I make it to here, and I am actually in the same province now, so I am also 2 away. I get a 7, not an 8, which means all I get is 1 point. That is not enough to do anything with Cordoba. This is the problem. His points are so low, he can't operate, and he's got so many fucking commands. He cannot operate. And, I mean, look, sure, I can force my units. I can take chances on these, decent units and hope that I get to do the attack that I want to do. But the chances aren't good. They just aren't. The discipline table, if I'm looking at an N, now I have a leadership bonus in my favor. At least there's that, right? But I'm still like, I need a 1 through 4 to be able to succeed, and otherwise I'm in kind of fucked up shape. I get an F. Well, that means that my units start losing troops, or losing them, or becoming demoralized. Losing troops, I'm not going to be able to fight effectively anymore. I'm not going to be able to face the French because I'm taking essentially desertions. Demoralized, wow, that's even worse. Or I'm not sure. I'm not sure which is worse, but the demoralized forces, they can't do what I want it to do. What I just, took this risk for, I'm not able to anymore. I can't really fight. And I just keep, the Ferrandino's War, I felt the Spanish were supposed to be more active. Sure, I made my blunders. I make blunders no matter what. But this one, I'm just feeling so fucking handcuffed by it. To the extent that, like, hey, the French are fine. They don't have an army, but they're fine. They can move it around as much as they need to. And that capability to move their forces is really effective. Now, I don't know a hell of a lot about this campaign, but what I'm seeing happen within the game and feeling constrained by, right? And maybe I'm a little too cautious or whatever, but what I'm feeling constrained by is not matching the historical description that the designer's giving me, right? I am just feeling way, way too constrained by it. Yeah, and again, this may be me being incompetent. This may be me missing something important in the rules. I don't think so, though. I really don't think so. I think it's just so impossible to advance. And, like, in the Ferrandino scenario, I could see how the Spaniards, maybe if they had gotten a little bit better down here, a quick shift up here, they could have done something close to the historical. This one, I'm not feeling it, and it's just because the Spaniards just have crappy forces. Now, some of that is I'm tracing my supply from here, maybe. But we're talking about a difference of a point or so, each turn, each economic turn. Not enough to move all of these varied forces that I have. And I'm trying to figure out, would there have been a way that I could have consolidated everything under Cordoba, gotten a big force up there? Just all these different Capitani are not doing me a damn bit of good. This is a big difference between how administrative points in this game work and the Zucker games. Administrative points in the Zucker games are, maybe they include some supply factors, etc. But for the most part, they're the commander's ability to enforce his will on his subordinates. It feels like it has a very clear position there as that. And what that means is, if I don't want to spend my administrative points. Now, they also serve a supply value in the sense that the higher your administrative points are, the better you are at avoiding attrition, I think. I believe that's the case. Like, if you have a lot of administrative points and you're not spending them, you're able to supply your troops better. And I guess that kind of is this indication that you're not forcing your forces to move around as much, and so your supply lines are more constant, although your forces can be moving around quite a bit because they can rely on initiative rolls. Initiative rolls are the engine there. It's, is the commander, is Massena going to do what Napoleon wants him to do without being told to do it? Is he going to operate effectively on his own? Whatever. Here, it's more to do with the actual supplies and whatnot. And the commanders will do whatever you want them to do. They'll try, but their troops may not take it. And it's just this very, very different feel. So like in the Zucker games, you take attrition rolls in general for marching too far. That's pretty much what it comes down to. When you move your units, you have to make attrition checks. And they will usually not cause a problem unless you're forced marching. In this, it's like, wow, I take this massive like troop loss check because, the supplies aren't there, I guess. I mean, that's the only way I can justify it, but it's like, okay, so, I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, it's much like the conservative way of playing the Zucker games is to hoard your administrative points because that'll help your attrition checks, and when you absolutely need to spend to move a unit, you can do it. In this, the idea of like moving a unit without spending the administrative points is really, really terrifying to me. And yeah, I mean, if you've got really good troops, you got a fair chance of making it without like too much terrible happening. And it's one die roll. It's not like you roll for each unit or anything. So like, it's really, hey, what's the supply situation of the forces when they try to move? Well, I don't know. Anyway, I will scoop my orders up, think about whether or not I want to move my supply zone, because this is the turn to do it in. And what's kind of nice is Naples goes right up into Principata Ultra, which means if I pull back with the French, I'm okay. What about the Spanish? It's a harder call. Right now, I'm at 1-2. If I come from Batty, I've got a lot of problems coming through here. So I just don't think I can do it. Letting the French kind of control these roads was really, really problematic. And some of that is with Cordoba moving here. I thought, hey, I've got, a road up to my main goal. Everything's clean and good. And then I started realizing, yeah, the only way that makes sense is if you press Cordoba continually, even though he doesn't have and cannot have the points to operate, and you just hope for your luck. You press your luck again and again. If I was back here, more of the reinforcements that I got, like I'd be able to operate down this central path here instead of this path. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway. Onward and upward, I guess. Contemplating my order situation, this is kind of annoying because the order of situations here is I do all the commands first, then the organization segment where I could reorganize forces. Then the reinforcements come in and Salzeuso comes in. I might as well bring him in with La Police, but he's going to come in with orders. He can have any orders he likes at this point. If the Spaniards were closer, I would give him attack orders. I'm considering it anyway, simply because if Cordoba breaks through, I won't attack this turn, but I'll have them paid for next turn. And if I don't want to use them, I can use the orders table to backtrack to like maneuver or something and not get a prior attack. So that's going to go to begin there. Even though I'm not going to move forward, I'm going to incorporate La Police as another Gran, as another Capitano General. CA, marked him. I'm allowed to have multiple forces under him. I'm going to fix something I fucked up. I would have had an extra movement point if I had stayed back here. And I'm going to build earthworks there. The reason for that is I'm looking at the Andrade, and he has a bunch of demoralized forces. And if I'm not in a place, in a location, I can't put myself as a garrison. So by putting myself in garrison position, I think I'm allowed to garrison as long as I have the earthworks. By not putting myself in garrison, I would have had to force a command on these demoralized forces. As it stands, I'm going to attempt to force a command, I guess, on Cordoba and all his troops. Did we get away with that before? I don't have the points to do anything. I would have had points to do something with some of these others, but I look at them, and we've got demoralized troops for De Andrade, Benavides, De Leyva. I don't want to fuck around with Moncada and these others who are kicking around. They're doing fine. Like, they're not helping me win the game, but the thing is, they're holding the French back in some place or another. Now, and I'm not even sure I can do this without forcing a command when he's out of command, but like, I think you can pay 0, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure the rules are even specific about that, or are clear about that. So that means I could spend points on Prospero here to try to set up a siege. The problem is that's going to cost me a point a turn, and actually I can't. He would have to force the command because I'm not in supply. Yeah, I'm just fucked. I mean, I'm just fucked all across the board. But let's check Cordoba and see if he makes his discipline check. Did I have anything that got screwed? It looks to me like everybody is okay on Cordoba. I know I had to check something. Okay, so he's on the discipline table. His forces are all decent. And I got to include Navarro in there as well. That gives me a -1 for the bonus star. And that's about it. Extra wages only works for, you spend APs, which I don't have, to help recover quicker. That's the only thing that's good for. I get a 5. That can't be good. That drops down to a 4. That's a pass for the R's, a fail for the N, and S, well, I only have N's, which means if they have more than 2 SPs, they lose 1. Okay. So these guys become demoralized. These are fine. Oh, these guys are sensitive. These guys become demoralized. I'm basically unable to do shit. I've got attack orders, which I'll drop. This guy is an S. He just took an automatic demoralization. Okay. So Cordoba's force is largely demoralized at this point. Now, do the French know this? In the game system, reality says they probably shouldn't. In the game system, there would be a check, and it would be announced what it's being done for and whatnot under the rules, and I would know he got a shitty roll, and he's probably in trouble. Should I know that? Should I not? I don't know. I mean, you could make arguments that maybe I should if I'm fairly close, and it doesn't really matter if I'm not. But yep, there are the Spanish forces. Stuck again. I'm not going to get to recover this turn. I can, next turn, switch back to hold orders, which I think cost me nothing because I'm a Gran Capitan or whatever. But yeah, I'm really beginning to feel like the system just does not, it does not allow me to do the kinds of things that I should be able to do. You know? And I feel like with this one, it's the scenario's fault. It's not giving me enough action points to operate an army of this many commanders. Now, again, that could all change if Cordoba had everybody under him and just went up one road. But consolidating everyone, you know, some of the reinforcements came in from Riggio. Some of them came in from over there. Of course, I've got none of them because I kind of went as far as I could and then got lost. I could have more forces and be bringing a bigger quantity up this way. And, you know, would that be enough? I don't think so. I think I'd have run out of points anyway. I don't know. Because it's so expensive to move the Gran Capitano, and I'm just not getting many points. I was worried when I saw I was in mountain terrain and then worse here in wooded hills, because those can become barren terrain, but only during rain. So yeah, during the good campaigning season, it's not a problem at all. And quarters down. This is important because if I have attrition to check, this one actually isn't, because quarters does not help with recovery. This one also isn't because that's on the border. But this guy might as well be in quarters to avoid the attrition check. We'll put him in. I'm trying to see if there's anything I can do at all. That effect, including the commanders, is no one is moving except this guy. The commanders are all in garrison except Saluzzo, who's got attack orders that he's not necessarily using, and Cordoba, who has attack orders, who cannot use them and is intending to go into hold orders, I guess. So that's that. I got to make my recovery checks, and I'll come back with a report of that, and maybe the attrition as well afterwards. Recovery, Cordoba doesn't get to. De Leyva recovered completely. He's up here. Benavides failed completely. He only has one unit. I don't know if... The real problem with him is I don't really want to expend points to move him. De Andrade, whom I would have liked, well, his reliable unit recovered, but the two normals did not. And he's the one who's up here and may have been able to do something. Although, not until the next points come, really, unless I want to force orders and break his units again. Which maybe I do. I mean, whatever. As long as he's got low strength points on each unit, it's not too bad. Two is a good amount. And the French have nothing that they're doing. Essentially, Saluzzo now is going to take La Police under him. Oh, wait, we were going to move this? Yeah, I think we were going to move this. And that we really can't move. So La Police is now a subordinate, and I'll move these extra troops here. And I'll even take that, because why not? Okay. And I've got attack orders in the event that Cordoba could have come through. I probably am not going to use them. I'm probably going to switch down to maneuver orders and get into position. Well, attack orders would help me hit this. What is this guy doing here? He didn't move. Okay, attrition checks. On the attrition, Cordoba lost a couple more points of units. He lost his, whatever, the Stratiotes or whatever, the light cav that are sensitive, and had to lose a regular unit as well. His force is melting away, of course. And on top of that, this siege was successful. Which means... what are we at now? We're at 1-2. Body is relatively large, and there's a force of some size, I don't know how big, but it's 4 strength points if I look, that's more than Allegre can handle. Yeah. So we're just kind of paralyzed across the board. It looks to me like the French are just going to win this by default because nobody can do shit. But, yep, that's the end of this one. That puts us to the second turn of August. The Spanish just don't have the points to be able to do anything. And I'm really not sure the scenario would allow them to. Like, I might have been able to optimize and squeeze a little bit more out of them. Certainly, I wouldn't have used the points I used initially to take Mr. N, and those points, plus a couple more for being closer to my supply source, would have allowed me to gather a larger force to come up at about this time in the game. I don't think enough to get me all the way up here, though. Especially not if I have to fight baronials on the way and whatnot. Even if I detach a leader and just spend 1 for him to attack or whatever, I'm still having to spend, what is it, 2 per turn on Cordoba? Or 2 per action? Yeah, 2 just for maneuver. So even if he sent out a cloud of leader or a leader ahead of him to take care of the baronials and then walked around them, we're still talking about the same 3 per turn to move forward. It's just I might be able to do it a little bit more efficiently by leapfrogging over units, but I can't go too far because I have to maintain my supply line, or else I won't be able to spend points. And we can see how effective forcing commands are. Intrinsically, I just don't want to do that because I know it's dangerous. But now that I actually see how bad it is, I'm like, yeah, it is as bad as I thought it would be. The only reason I'm doing it is because I don't see another way for the Spaniards to turn this thing around unless I could get Cordoba through. But even if I can, there's still no absolute, he's not a god in battle, and we have not seen a major battle yet. And I don't know that we will, because it's just too hard to bring your forces to bear with the enemy, and I'm not sure the French care to, right? They're like, well, if the Spaniards are just going to fucking die on their own, the hell with them, let them, I will make an attack if I feel like, I've got an advantage and I've got the Spaniards on the run or whatever, certainly, although the game's not about launching an attack. The game's about getting control of these territories, and I feel like I'm about as far as I can go in Basilicata. I doubt I can take Bari in this circumstance. I'd have to, divert this, which I just don't feel like I can. I feel Cordoba's too close. And he, I just don't feel like I have the numbers to take Cordoba on his own. And Cordoba doesn't have the commands to launch an attack, ever. I guess it's still Saturday, barely. Again, the last couple days, I've been falling asleep, I don't know, for an hour or 2 or whatever, sometime after dark. But then otherwise, I don't know, sleeping in the middle of the day, kind of, but not all of it. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, oddly, the fact that it's Saturday, because I'm screwed up to the point where I think it's, it's a day later, but that's because I missed the dancing and was fully functional yesterday and everything. All right, we got hot weather again here in the 2nd August turn. We're going to continue plodding through. I really don't expect a hell of a lot to happen, mainly because the Spaniards are on the offensive in terms of needing to gain territory from the French. They have probably better troops, but they just don't have the capacity, the capability and action points to be able to advance. I'm thinking, what would be nice? Look, obviously on counters, you don't have room for anything more than like a W or whatever. But there is actually space. Not a lot. But for example, Saluzzo, yeah, it's fine that you print the W here, but it would be kind of nice, maybe in tiny, tiny print, W dash, whatever it is. Most of them, I don't think any have more than a couple. Like this guy has the siege and the artillery. This has the L. Having to look them up constantly is kind of a pain in the ass. Now, I'm not going to write them in because, I don't know. But the fact that usually they relate to combat situations. In fact, I don't know if they all do, other than the one. Impetuousness, yes. Siege, artillery, Capitan, yeah. All of them relate to combat capabilities, except for Saluzzo, well, the W. And Saluzzo may be the only guy with the W, right? That one, particular one relates to the cost of administrative points. It's like, great, you know. Most of them I can wait and think about, well, you know, is he good at combat, is he bad, and just have a vague idea of that. But this one I have to continuously remind myself, hey, he's got to spend an extra AP over and above being a Capitano General. By the way, Albini here, who is a Capitano General, is not necessarily an advantage. I think to myself it's a big advantage. He can absorb other units. It may not be. I may have wanted to connect those two for the simple fact that if Albini's out on his own, now he costs more. Like, if he's out on his own and not a Capitano General, he pays the lower prices to do things. It's not a big deal because the French have so many action points, right now at least. In fact, I think I'm going to take advantage of Albini's situation, seeing that the regular forces have gotten down to here. I think I'm going to try to take that. Now, I'm not going to give myself an attack order, but I can give myself a maneuver order. Of course, it costs me 2 instead of 1, but I think I can afford it. And, you know, by maintaining the flexibility, yeah, it feels like a waste that I'm spending the full amount of points to move for half as long. And I've actually got my concerns about that, right? Which is any kind of game. So any kind of game system has a game turn structure and whatnot. But when you take time periods that are about the same and make some of them special, like these turns where you get action points and turns when you don't, you kind of make the game different on those different turns, and there's no reason for them to be different, right? Your normal sequence of play, yes, it imposes a kind of structure and a kind of limitation and whatnot on the reality that doesn't actually exist. But here it's imposing, in addition to that kind of structure that doesn't exist, a differentiation that doesn't exist. And I complained to no end. I don't remember. I know God Kings had this. There was something more recently that had it. May have been a CDG. Kind of think it was. Where there were multiple turns and then special turns where things went differently. I think it was Tanta Monta, to tell you the truth. Where certain turns you had to do things differently than other turns. But that may just have been the end of the structural sequence as a whole. Yeah, I think it was, because they were like 5-year turns, and at the end of every 5-year turn, you had to be, you know, in a certain place, or you had to move your forces back to their home country and all that. And there were things that just did not feel like they should exist. on that 5-year pattern. You might convince me on a 1-year pattern. You can't convince me. And actually, it's kind of a random thing. God Kings, there was a very specific, like turns 1 through 4 were just normal turns, and then turn 5 had this special situation where you basically have to be in supply or whatever. And this kind of has that within every other turn type situation. But yeah, I think I'm going to pay for Albini because I have an opportunity to take this. That solidifies my position in Basilanta. It protects this route up here, and I might be able to, you know, release these units to do something else, or at least this one. He's kind of not doing anything anyway, and stuff of that nature. Now, Allegre shifted to a stand order. I don't know how much I can do with him, to be honest. I think he's where he wants to be. The stand doesn't hurt me. I could flip to garrison. It doesn't make a difference either way. Let me consider the Spaniards. They have no points, so yeah. What I could do with Cordoba is I could switch to a stand order for free and try to recover my troops. Given the paucity of points I have, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm going to continue with my attack, even though I've got demoralized forces. They can't be involved in it, but I have a couple of reliable units who held out. They might as well just keep coming. Any baronials move, I moved this one that was back here up to here. He's just, Albini's not going to gain him. He's just repositioning, form another layer of defense, because this is pretty important. And I think that's it. I built some earthworks there. That's about the end of that. And now on to the leaders. Hey, Saluzzo, he does not want to be in attack orders. I drop him down to maneuver. That way he doesn't pay a penalty next turn for being in attack orders. Also, is this the turn? No, last turn was the turn if I wanted to shift my supply source. I, for whatever reason, decided to keep this here. Do I want that? See, the problem is I'm paying an extra. Yeah, I was already set to switch. Yeah, I want to switch over to Naples. These guys, obviously, they didn't make that decision last turn, and they really can't. This situation has them tied down to using Reggio. I was wrong about this. This is me not paying attention. Saluzzo does want the attack order. It allows him to hit that, which is what he's going to do. We'll put a battle marker there. Albini, so Cordoba was able to force the 2 French to move first. Albini got a lousy roll, only was able to move 1 space. Saluzzo has 3, he can make it to there, so he's going to try to clear that. I don't know if it's a great idea or not. Like, it does keep me in previous attack, but I don't expect Saluzzo to be spending on attack orders. Cordoba got enough movement that he could move into that hex and build earthworks there. Now, he can't force the enemy to attack him, and the enemy can't force him to attack them. But he can attack and give up the earthworks temporarily for the course of the battle. That means we got a couple of battles. I need to reload my pipe. It's not lighting well. There's very little left in it. Down to get my pipe reminded me a couple of things. One of which is, hey, I've been playing a lot the last day or so. Really, you know, after I woke up, well, after I got done with Raid on Friday and early Saturday morning, I played a lot on Saturday morning. It's no longer Saturday, I'm sure. And I'm kind of, you know, I'm up here not playing Raid right now, even though I slept, you know, most of the day and whatever. The main reason is I no longer have to play as much Raid right now. Like, I've gotten a lot of my goals done, and whatever there is to do with that, I may have to look something up. If I missed something, I've caused an issue. But you know, I've had less focus on that. And I'm not awake in the day anymore, so like, there's nothing like going and cutting wood getting in the way. And even reading, I tend to do that more during the day when I'm up going to the beanbag and whatever. Anyway, the other thing, which is the important thing that I picked up the camera for, is wait a minute, Cordoba doesn't have to attack this using normal rules. He can use the attack from March. Requires the expenditure of a movement point in addition to the cost of the hex. So actually, I'm on my second movement point here. This is important because I think this is going to get me out of a major battle. I don't really want to fight a major battle. When you win a major battle, you get like a no move marker. Now, Cordoba's immune from that, but you cannot attack from March if you haven't enough movement points. Hidden Capitani are revealed, and a skirmish procedure is immediately applied, always, even if other procedures apply. We'll be using the affecting row. I think we'd be using that anyway. And then we're allowed to keep moving. Because he's not in any kind of defensive location. Okay, so my cav would be reduced, but I don't have any cav. So what I'm looking at is 8 strength points of quality 2 forces versus a strength point of quality 1. Which means I look for the rules. We're in Wooded Hill, nothing exciting there. This is just major battles. Okay. So I am at +1 on affecting. I'm going to have the +2 for the 4-to-1 bonus. Make it +3 for this. And nothing else applies. +3 is not a bad thing. I think I can still get screwed. Oh, yay, I do. Okay. So Cordoba's army is repulsed. And I gotta lose a strength point of one of these. I'm gonna have to make a check against my units. I'm not sure what happens with these things. There is also a pursuit chance. Did I forget that out of... Yeah, I think I forgot that when Deleva or Dandretti, I think it was Deleva, hit that and got flung back. I think I forgot to do a pursuit check. There's only one strength point. But maybe pursuit doesn't happen. I'm trying to remember if that table only happens when you're in combat, or when you're not in combat, or if it applies after a battle. Execute the retreat. I don't think it says. Like, it does discuss pursuit, but it's a different kind of pursuit. It's moving hexes, which is like, yeah, that's not a thing in this game. That's from the other game. Subject to pursuit after a major battle. Let me just make sure you are in a normal battle as well. See, here's the problem. Things are like, there's not a general combat resolution. And there's sort of like part of a combat resolution here, and then major battle is like squeezed into that. We don't have the retreats from the skirmish here. Let's look at skirmish. See, skirmish does not have that pursuit step. I just don't think it happens. Really weird, because pursuit happens when you leave a hex without fighting, and it happens when you're facing this. Now, and recovery. What the hell? Why is there recovery in here? Yeah, I don't know why it says pursuit and recovery, but that gets me down to here. There is no recovery. Recovery from disruption, I guess. But it doesn't actually spell it out. But there's nothing spelling out a pursuit after a skirmish. Which again feels a little weird. What there is all combat units belonging to the attacking or defending force will follow a path, which I've struck out because that does not happen. There's no advance after combat. So yeah. We're taking a hit and we're taking a discipline check. As far as I can tell, nothing happens to these other guys who are kicking around on me. They don't have a quality number. They're demoralized. They weren't in the fight. So these guys are quality 2. I have a -1 for my leadership bonus, the Primo Capitano. So we roll that, I get a 3. We pass, but I've got to run away my full movement allowance now. And I don't know if that's full remaining movement allowance because this was a march. I think it's full. I think I saw that somewhere. Which means I have 5 movement points. That's the full allowance of some of the units that are here. Actually, it's 4, that artillery unit, right? I don't know. 1, 2, I can stop here and pick these up. They'll be picked up later, but I might as well do it now. Okay, give me some garrison for the guard. I did not take my loss. Yeah, I did. Didn't I? Yeah, I had 8 strength points. Okay, I took my loss. So we were beaten back there. And lookups and whatnot definitely get in the way as well. And I'm finding myself having to look things up regularly. Saluzzo is hitting these guys from behind. This was not an attack from March. That's going to make it a major battle. I don't know if I want to do that. But I didn't have enough movement points to do it any other way. So we get our first major battle, which is going to be Saluzzo versus a baronial unit. Well, is it our first? Yeah, I think because in Ferrandino's war, I think the only attack Ferrandino made were sieges. And I don't know if the French even had a Capitan General. I don't remember. I don't remember. They must have. Was it Albini? Who were our Capitano Generals here? Montpensier. I don't remember. And Gonzaga was one as well. But I think there were basically no field battles. I think everything was... This one is getting actual field battles, which is kind of weird. So yeah, that's going to throw me in a major battle, which I have not done. And that brings in all the fucking optional rules for this little, what should have been an attack by March, but I did not have the movement points to do it there. Well, good damn God. All right. What the hell? All right, so step 3A, we're allowed to reorganize. We get to see what's going on here. In steps 1 and 2, which are designate the attacking force, that'll be Saluzzo. Designate the defending force, that'll be the baronial. Retreat before combat. No. You have to be entirely demoralized for that to happen. So now we do this. Each force is reorganized into a number of corps. We each have one corps, which is the Capitano and his direct subordinates. Battle initiative. Okay. Now, technically, these come off the board, and we've got this going on. And I don't know where the fuck to put it. Like, I guess I'll put it facing this way. Before the battle begins, both are assigned a complete identical set of tactical option sheets. The number of type indicated on the tactical options table, and it's a strict design limit. Okay, we'll look for that. There's the tactical options chart. I don't know if that's the table. I'm guessing so. Maximum per player, yeah. Okay, well, everybody can have one of each. That's going to be these things. Okay? I will look them up as needed. Because they each get like one or two that they can play. Okay. These are secretly selected and distributed by the owning player among the Capitani. No more than 2 can be placed on a single Capitano. In excess of this limit may not be used and are set aside. The table summarizes their effects. Okay. Let's take a look at Saluzzo here. He has guns and he has firepower infantry. If I look at the chart, I have some interesting choices. Formation, I believe, allows me to choose the vanguard or rear guard. Reserve allows a rear guard unit to come into play. Artillery allows me to shoot my guns. Combined arms gives advantages. I don't think I can do that. I don't have cavalry. I think for him, I'm going to be taking artillery and firearms. The Spanish are going to have an earthworks one. So we look for these. We just paw through here, looking. There's a firearms. Now, technically what I should be doing is I should have this here. And Saluzzo would be here. I don't know if he has these on his card. I think so. And this guy is here. For what it's worth, we'll find him the earthworks one. Though, they're not different colored on this side. I mean, this is giving us a really simple major battle because we haven't been able to do one yet. Okay, he'll have an earthworks. He doesn't have a card, so whatever. And I actually don't think he has another that he can even use. And for him, what were we talking about? We were talking about, I pulled out, where the fuck is the ones I wanted? Oh, we had a firearms and an artillery. I think this is what I'm going to pick for him because I think it's going to keep him in the safest position. But we'll take a look at the different orders and see if we want to change those. Okay. The battle roster is deployed. Both players, beginning with the attacker, alternate placing their Capitani on the roster in the desired section, vanguard, main body, rear guard of their own side. Now, it kind of sounds like you just choose what you want, but you can't. You have to have a specific order to go into the vanguard or rear guard, and it's not going to do me a damn bit of good in this particular situation. There are certain advantages, although I'm not really sure what value there is to being in the rear guard, the reserves area in particular. Formation shits must be played during this step or not at all. Okay, so by played they mean revealed. Formation is the one that allows you to place in the vanguard or rear guard. And and allows the player to place his corps in the vanguard or rear guard. Okay, there's a reminder. Friendly corps may be put in their own rear guard, but unless they have a reserve chit, they won't be able to take part in the combat. So you're going to have to play a formation chit. Now that's just somebody has to play one. But with only one corps, I want to get as many chits as I can. Okay, let's take a look at these chits that I have here and what I can and can't play. Formation allows you to place in the other area. Artillery. This allows you to fire artillery units and be played in both vanguard and may be played in either vanguard or main body. They say both, but they must fire against enemy corps. Okay. Then we got the rules on that. A reaction charges can't, cav charge can't be done unless I have cav. I do not have cav, so that is not an option. Combined arms, it has to be cavalry and infantry to do that. Lost in plunder is not an option. Firearms, I have firearms. This protects things from cav chargers or melee. This can be played only if the corps contains undemoralized infantry. With firearms, it does. It must be played at an instant before a charge. I'm not going to face a charge. I think I don't care. Muster allows the player to lose the battle early. I don't wish to do that. He has the river thing. Actually, the firearms one is unimportant. It's not going to help me. I'm not going to even play it. Okay. I got to swap batteries. Detail is absolutely overblown. In fact, the basic game's major battle, which this would have been, would also be absolutely overblown for what we have. What we have here is the same situation we had with Cordoba fighting, a single force. It's just way too much for this kind of combat. And if I missed doing a major battle before because I'm like, oh, it's just a baronial, you can see that probably was a wise choice. But this may actually give him a better chance of beating that thing because he's got the artillery fire, he's got all that shit. And honestly, he is in a major battle, technically. Okay. Now I think we're in another section here because we got another number. The last number was back here, 01.1.1. Engagement declaration. Engagement is a contest between, first thing is, we got two things in the main body, but that actually isn't what's supposed to happen. The first thing that happens is the vanguard fight. We take care of any attacks in the vanguard. Neither player put anything in the vanguard. You're actually not allowed to put everything outside the main body, so, and you don't want to. Okay, so then we hit the main body fight, where they get to do stuff. Now, an engagement is a contest where one can distinguish between attacking and defending corps. The simplest way is to advance the engaging corps face to face and in contact with the engaged corps. Where the corps stands. In every engagement, one side's corps are engaging or engaged, but never both. A corps in battle may be engaging. I may not want to use my artillery because I may lose it. Remember, there's like counter battery things on the siege. I don't remember. We use the same artillery table, right, over here, and there is an asterisk here, which I believe is the firing artillery lose a point. I may not even want to fire because of that. I may just want to not use a chit in order to protect my artillery. Because a 1 in 6 chance of losing my artillery seems like a bad idea. And what this all may mean is we basically come down to exactly what happens in a minor battle. It's just we have a lot of rules to look at to see that we're there. As a general rule, well, I mean, I can have the chit on me. I can just choose not to play it. Okay. Every engagement is composed of one corps engaging another. How engagements are declared: beginning with the Capitano with the highest initiative rating and descending, the Capitano commanding free corps may decide whether to engage an enemy corps. If more Capitani share the same initiative, okay, the highest initiative is going to be Saluzzo. He has a 2. The Baronials have, ooh, they have a 2 as well. That's the number in that little square there. Ah. Okay. So, I don't know which we pick. If more the Capitano with a bonus card decides, if still undecided, you roll a die. Okay. So, odd, the French have the higher initiative. The French have the higher initiative, so they have the option to attack. Free corps may join. Okay, what do we got here? I don't know. I gotta stop because my battery's not charging. It does feel ridiculous to be doing this in a major battle. You know, he's no bigger than anyone else, right? He doesn't have extra corps with him and whatever. He's fighting a fucking baron, and I'm doing all this shit. You know, we've gone through 2.5 of these scenarios, a little over that, and this is the first time we've run into a major battle, and it's fucking beating up on a baronial. For that, I'm so confused as to, you know, not being here and having done the reorg and whatever, that for whatever reason, I decided to use the stupid charger that doesn't work instead of just plugging it into the camera that does. All right, I was wrong. A major battle is a combat which the Primo Capitano is a Capitano general for both sides. And the one time we could have had that was not, because it was a siege. So yay, we don't have to do this stupidity. I decided to look it up because it didn't make any sense. At all. And I was absolutely confused. All right. So, what we have in that case is artillery or nothing. We have 14, I think we still count them in, but whatever, we have 4-1. We're hitting earthworks. We're hitting, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's Heath or damaged map. I think it's Heath. Okay, so we're in the Heath, which would reduce cavalry, not an issue. And artillery never impacted here. I don't think they count at all. So we have a strength of 6 and 8 is 14-1, which gets us our +2. We have no leader bonus. His letter doesn't affect this. This might be an ambush. I don't think so. I think that has to be a leader. 16-4-2, but maybe it's baronials. I don't know. I haven't been playing it as such. And here we're in the stupid rules again. 16-4-2. Oh, Baron force. If they have an attack order. Okay. Well, these do not. All right. Not that I put orders on things. So let me get these pieces of shit out of here. We thought we had one. Boy, are we not going to be happy about when we actually do. But yeah, it was so obviously ridiculous. To be handling it as such. And like a reasonable person, wouldn't have shown you that. But also, would, you know, cut this away and whatnot. Okay. So this is how we'd actually be set up, not inside a fortress because there isn't one. And we haven't been doing it recently. There's no reason for us to. So what I said was I've got a +2 on the die roll and a quality value. Saluzzo's quality, wow, is shit. So we're on the 0. We're on affecting terrain because Heath's not affecting, but Earthworks is. Affecting terrain, plus the defender is actually doubled, but still, it's still that +2. So we're going to be at 0 at +2 on the affecting. We get an 8, which means we destroy the baronial. Whoop, whoop, whoop. That was exciting. All right. So after that little wandering, we've taken care of the 2 battles. And yeah, I honestly thought if there was a Capitano General, it automatically caused a major battle. So major battles are really, really unlikely. Which is good because they look like they're a bitch and a half. The main reason is what they do is they allow you to allocate all your forces. The skirmishes, like multiple skirmishes in a hex can happen, but a force retreats immediately after 1 round of combat. The major battle allows you to bring all your forces to bear and have multiple rounds of combat on that table. That's the main difference. But I was getting so confused because, well, mainly because I had to reread the rules because we haven't had one, you know, and everything was appearing so obviously wrong. Okay, so we succeeded in our attack here. It was not a major battle, so we don't get a no move or anything like that on us. Cordoba has retreated. I think we are at the point of checking for attrition. God, I feel so lost now. Having gone down that tunnel. Okay, so it's hot weather. Who has attrition checks? Well, this guy's in quarters, so he avoids it. Saluzzo is in his own territory. He's not in an opposed hex. He has no problem. He's in Heath, but that's not an issue unless it's raining, so he's safe. These guys are all safe. I don't know about this guy. The effect of being in quarters, it like reduces your quality by 1, which would mean that storming the castle would be easier. I don't have a marker on him, so let's roll for him. Actually, he's fine. It's these guys who are problematic, and they're all. This guy would have been in quarters. No, he is not in quarters. Okay, he dies. I'm just making these guesses as to whether or not somebody would have been in quarters and trying not to cheat too much. And I figure I should favor them not being in quarters because if they were anywhere near the enemy, somebody might take advantage of it. Okay, that puts me on Cordoba. Cordoba is in Basilicata. Oh, that was held by them. He hasn't absorbed this unit yet. Or has he? We're after combat. There's a joint consolidation there. And then, well, where the fuck is attrition? It's part of the, it blends into this and looks like it's the same line, so I skipped it. Yeah, attrition comes after consolidation, so yeah, he actually has the troops there. So I don't know what he has. 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14 strength points. He has a bonus. All that running back and forth didn't do a damn thing. 5 goes to 4, that's if he was under siege. 5 does not go to 4 because it's hot weather. I lose 1. We'll lose this. Okay. As our forces continue to melt away. Albini is fine. He doesn't have to make a check because he's in friendly territory. This thing, I'm going to say, was in quarters. We did not do the recoveries, which actually I think happened back during movement. That's when they actually happened, but I never bother with them then. And so I ought to take those into account. Important that these take place in movement because Cordoba doesn't get a chance to recover, right? Even though presumably he had movement points left over, they get wiped out by the battle. He does not have his activation is over. He can't recover during his activation. Benavides recovered his sensitive troops. These normal troops of De Andrade's were not recovered. De Leyva was already recovered. So I took care of those. I think I've taken care of all the attrition checks I need to make. Allegre, he's not in quarters, I guess. I did not tell him to go into quarters. If I knew that, I might have. Why do they have a point? Where'd they get that from? I don't know. Okay. Allegre does not roll high enough to lose one of his units. So that's that. And I am done. And I feel incredibly stupid. We're going into September. You know, I feel like this is a time to load things up, but I also don't feel like anything's really happened. I was so excited about campaigning. I'll tell you one thing. This guy deserves to be made someone important. Because he has beaten off Cordoba's main army, which is quite a huge army. He beat off, I think it was De Leyva. That was from behind the river, fine, you know, whatever. Although it didn't really make a damn bit of difference because he's got the earthworks anyway, so he's got a defensive formation. He just was able to, like, drive the enemy back in both cases in a weird sort of way. Yeah. Wow. All right. See, I mean, the game only goes to here. Like, February is when it ends. But before February, it ends January. It ends during the January 2 turn, which doesn't exist, so we just continue forever. But yeah, I mean, it feels like I've done a chunk of play here. The main reason I don't want to load up right now is my battery state. So take that as you will. I'll probably play another turn. But yeah, I feel, you know, completely idiotic for starting that major battle and whatnot. And then dragging you through the rules for it. We may never see a major battle in this game. Always bringing up the same games, Vietnam, the Zucker games and whatever, when describing how I feel about this. Let me tell you another one that feels just clunky in the same sort of way. And maybe it'll give you more of a grip on what because I don't even understand it 100%. SPI's War of the Ring. It feels like there's all these complex, you know, army rules and everything, and when it comes down to combat, it's a standard odds chart, and there's just huge stacks of units and everything, and I feel like I'm playing around with these shadow points and doing all this shit and everything, and I can't get shit done, and I don't really have a grasp on strategy or anything in it. And it's a very similar feeling to the feeling I have in Vietnam in the Zucker games. Even though the system is very, very different. You know, there's very little to look along the lines and say, oh, you know, it's it's the pulsing and all this, that, and the other. I feel the same kind of. The difference being, in War of the Ring, I feel like it's using, you know, slap together, use the classic, you know, standard odds table and whatever, just with combat in the same hex and crap like that. And there's got to be there's got to be SPI games that use that same system of combat in the same hex, infinite numbers of stacking of points of troops being able to hit each other and just having almost no effect. Another one that kind of affects me the same way is the Albion game, where I feel like I'm doing a lot of shit and not getting anything done. You know? I don't know. I just feel like I'm putting a lot of effort into no real result, and I'm so tied up in either the strategy or the mechanisms in this that I'm not getting a narrative either, and would probably have a better time, you know, feel like I'm getting more detailed narrative out of like an area game like Britannia or something like that, because I'm not able to see the narrative for all the clunkiness. There's a level where that happens. Right, the heat continues into the September economic turn. We're going to have baronials coming into play as well. Let's do, I guess, a quick check on the administrative points, see what we're getting here. So this is the 4-2 zone again. That's for the rest of the game. Okay, great. We moved back to Naples, which is safe because we can trace this way, and that gets us to, we actually have 2 Gran Capitanes. One of them has to be the actual commander, and they're the same rank. If I make Saluzzo the commander, that's okay. I think I'm trying to remember. I don't think that there's any kind of distance cost. You just have to be able to trace. So it kind of doesn't matter which one I take. So I'll take Saluzzo as the source of my admin points, because he's only 1 away, and we're going to get the full 4. Not that it matters a hell of a lot. We've got probably enough for the rest of the game for us. Now, for the Spaniards, we're running 1, 2, and now I have to cross a border to get to him, which is problematic. I think that works out to 3 because I've been pushed beyond the border. And I roll a nice number there and get my full 2. That means I have enough points to do something with Cordoba. Unfortunately, I'm going to be prior attack, and I need to recover, and all kind of stuff. So this ain't the turn where he's going to do shit. And the big question is, you know, these others, well, does De Leyva have enough to, say, face Saluzzo? We know how big Saluzzo is. He just fought a battle. And the answer is no. In fact, we might be in trouble if Albini comes down and hits Cordoba right now, because we know some of Cordoba's troops are demoralized. And that might actually be of interest to the French. All right, hopefully let me talk about these. Now, these guys do not have a troop quality. I think they count as normal. In the event that I want to force an order on them, well, they can't. yeah, I don't even know what happens if I force an order if there's baronials. Like, baronials could move on their own for free. So it kind of feels like this is something I'm going to have to look up, because if I can just force an order on them and don't have to pay, well, then I could have done that. Well, I could do that with him, but that's not it. I could have done that with Paredes. I wouldn't have to be spending these orders to do anything. On the other hand, I think they still have to trace. I'm not sure. A lot of questions in my head. I'm sure they're answered in the rules. I'm getting sick of looking shit up. Because it's just like the same grading that causes it to be difficult for me to figure out what to do, causes it to be difficult, like, to want to look things up, to care. You know? But yeah, what I've done so far, the French, Saluzzo is going to do a maneuver. His goal is to get into here and try to defend that river crossing. Now, it's not a really strong defense because it can be subverted from the side or from here. But it seems like a good idea to gather the extra troop. And it was worth a couple of points to me. Now, on the other side of things, on the Spanish, and no one else is going, Albini, yeah, you know, I could come down and play with Cordoba, but I have 8 strength points, 9, 10, 11, and I'd be facing 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, right? Some of these might recover. If they don't recover, we're looking at like 12. Some of which are artillery and maybe not as effective. So I might have a shot at making this attack. And I do know what he's got because he just did a battle against me. I might have a shot against doing the attack, but, you know, I have very sensitive units, although they're high quality. I have a lot of high quality stuff, but I'm just not willing to say that Albini thinks he can definitely win the battle. He's pretty sure he could win a defensive battle even if those extra troops are there, or he would be okay with that. Plus, it would put a no move, although not for Cordoba. But basically, my feeling is I can let the Spaniards take Basilicata if they really want to. I think I can let them take Principato Citra. And they don't have enough time to do much more than that, right? And if they want to push forward and try to get Naples, get the extra victory point for that, whatever, yeah, that becomes of some interest, right? But as things are, I have the edge, and I really feel like I don't want to risk that all on, like, you know, probably not moving it any better in terms of victory than I have. Again, it's standard victory by the way I'm looking at it if you hold Naples, regardless of whether you have more, you know, whether you have more points than putting you at the +1 position. So I don't think I'm going to get enough points to get above that standard victory. Now, if I wanted to do the whole, oh, you got to get it exactly at 1 to get that standard victory, otherwise, yeah, that just feels like bullshit to me. So, but that is how the rules are actually written. If that was the case, maybe it would make sense to either take more territory or give up some territory. Taking makes sense, giving up not so much. And I just feel like, yeah, we've kind of tied the Spaniards down to the goals that we have. So I don't see any point towards advancing. Now, if they fuck themselves over again, we might well see the French come forward, just because I'll feel like I have a definite advantage at that point in terms of gaining ground against them. For the Spaniards, most of the stuff's in garrison. Now, I spent a point for De Leyva to move, because I'm going to try to bring him up to join Cordoba. Again, just, you know, Cordoba doesn't feel like he has enough troops as it stands, which is why he doesn't have enough action points to get enough troops. No, he's got reasonable action points here, and that 2-point action points, I'm assuming, actually is supplies rather than an unwillingness to press the campaign. But again, I have no idea, because it's holding that kind of dual position in this game. It kind of does in the Zucker games too, and it feels a little counterintuitive in those, but it feels much worse in these. But I'm thinking about Benavides. Look, he's not doing shit for me back here. Andrade has to recover, so he's fine on garrison. But Benavides, I don't want to spend points because I need those points for future turns. I get just too few to operate Cordoba, to do attacks. Like, if I get my full nominal points of 2, that's not enough to keep pursuing. You know, it just feels crazy to me how limited I am. Yeah, maybe to an extreme. And when I look at Benavides, well, he's not going to bring himself into the conflict, and so I want to force him. So I'm going to do a force on him, but then I'm going to look up to see if, like, what happens if I force Prospero? Because right now, he's not really doing anything for me. I hope I rolled to move him. I don't think I did. I think I spent a command point, which I don't think I could have gotten there. Again, the system just grates, like it doesn't, the teeth don't catch properly in my brain. You know, the little gears aren't working right for this. And that, I don't know why. This is not something that's like, you know, just an old age thing. It has always been that way with the Zucker games for me. It has always been that way with Vietnam. And the others I mentioned as well. It always feels like, yeah. But with these, like with War of the Ring, I feel like I understand the rules. I just don't get what you're supposed to fucking do in that game, in the military game. And it's the military game I'm interested in. The non-military game actually is a better game in my opinion. But anyway. But if you remember what I've covered, Fellowship of the Ring, that's right next to it, is a much better game on the non-military, like the quest for the ring type thing. And for the military, I think the same name, War of the Ring, the Fantasy Flight and whatever, the more modern game, which has nothing to do with the old Howard Baruch, I think is his name, game. Anyway, yeah, I gotta look up to see what the fuck is up if I'm forcing orders on a baronial force, on a purely baronial force. What's up with that? All right, so we'll put you through the fun of hunting orders. There was something else I wanted to look at too. I don't remember. Right, anyway, before I do that, let's get to Benavides and let's force his orders. And we have to look. It doesn't help that I'm always having to flip through these tables to find things. So here I have sensitive and reliable. Sensitive is not too hot. And we roll a nasty 6, which means we get a for fuck's sake here. It does not have more than 3, so it just flips. And the sensitives probably disappear. I don't know. They get a straight D. Demoralize the effect of combat. Okay. Oh! You know what? I think forces that are already in trouble. Like I see something here. Demoralize the effective combat unit is demoralized during commander activation phase. If already demoralized, eliminated. Yeah, so if I try to activate something that already had some demoralized troops, like I did with Cordoba, no? I don't remember. There's a possibility that they could actually be destroyed. I'm pretty sure I didn't hit that result. Yeah, so this guy's demoralized as well. But Benavides gets a maneuver order out of it. Yay! Great. All right, let's go look up about Prospero. What's up with him? Yeah, this would have affected Paredes if I could force orders for free on these guys. So, well, first of all, discipline check. I don't see anything about baronials here. Let's look under baronials, because this is a situation I just don't think I've hit. The reliability class is not, it's always normal. Baronial unit movement. If they are disordered, they end up destroyed. I think that's how it works. I kind of remember that. So if they're normal forces, and they do have a quality, so they'd be checking on that as well. Normal forces trying to move, it means I would need a 1 through 3 to actually operate them. Do I want to chance that? What do I gain out of it? Especially since I already cheated this guy forward. Not a whole hell of a lot. I think I'm just going to sit there. This would be great to take, but I'm not even all that likely to get it. Yeah. All right. So we've spent a lot of time doing nothing effectively. And I still haven't issued orders to my baronials, like the regular baronials. So I will have to swap batteries and get to that. And yeah, you can kind of see like the effect it's having on me and everything. I just feel like my brain is clouded and everything because it's just not sticking to me. Moving baronial troops. Not doing a lot with them right now. Certainly not with the French ones. I have a whole shitload of them, but I'm only moving a couple. I notice I fucked up. Albini here, yeah, no big shock, is not in a town or any kind of location that he can garrison, which means it would cost me 1 to hold, 2 to give him a maneuver. I look at the command chart. Let's say I do a stand at 1. Maneuver would still cost me 2. I think I'm gonna want to maneuver. Maybe not right now. But that means I have to pay for him. And again, it's because I have 2 Capitano generals. Not what I want. I can't get rid of him without combining him in with Saluzzo. Then, then I could make either one the Capitano Generale. Or the Gran Capitan, or whatever the right term. I'm pretty sure it's Generale. But, yeah, I mean, in a way, I'm kind of frozen with the French, or I'm kind of inefficient with the French, too, because they have 2 of them. This is what we have. French and Spanish ones. The Spanish ones digging earthworks there. So they can hold it a little easier. Neither one has any attack orders. I can give them attack orders later. And we could just do a 1 versus 1. The Otranto has a weaker quality, so the French might want to attack. I don't know. Plus they have excess. That would possibly open things up down here. I don't know what good that would do, but if I could make it into Otranto or grab more of body. Right now I have 1 in body, and body is a 7 this time. I would have to take some of these cities here. 1, 5, 6, 7, to take it away from the Spaniards. Part of that's because the Venetian holding an important location, or a location, not that important. But Otranto is also a 7, but there's a lot more open right now because there aren't a bunch of baronials down there. Now, if I go down there and start plucking around with a baronial, I'm pretty sure that some Spanish baronials will fiddle their way in and start doing shit. So I don't have much hope of gaining a territory with these guys. Over here, cutting my way over, and then these guys on a road march, just trying to get into position more quickly. That puts me on the leaders. Damned if I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to do the recovery what I'm supposed to during the movement, because it could be important. Somebody like Albini moves in on Cordoba. Of course, he doesn't have the movement points to do so, the orders to do so. But we shall see. Important for Cordoba, who just got activated. I had a few others going on here. He's just getting forced to be activated. He has no initiative. -3. He has 2 movement points. If I spend one of those movement points to dig in, it's going to affect my recovery options. This is kind of weird, because you can't recover if you're in like retreat or maneuver or anything. Only if you're in garrison or hold, unless I'm mistaking something. And he should not be in garrison. Oh yeah, he can be. Okay. And that's important because it cost me no points. So my recoveries are on normals. I do have a +1 for my star. Or a -1 because of my star. Let's see. He gets a 2, which is sufficient to get these forces back under control, and this guy. Cool. I think the star, yeah, it's the Primo Capitani, who would be the Gran Capitano if he's in place. Okay. So I got him marked, and now what am I doing? I'm trying. Saluzzo was forced to move. I'm putting Albini versus someone, I don't know who. What's his name? DeAndre failed to recover. De Leva got a lousy movement to here, but Benavides jumped into road march and is quite further away along, but he's got problems. First of all, he's in hostile territory. There's heat. There's a chance of these things, of all these forces losing strength points, of course. But he also, and I've got to absorb this into Saluzzo. I'll put it with La Police. I've got another space with Saluzzo, but whatever. What else do we have here? We did Cordoba's recovery. Albini slid his way down a little bit. I don't know what that's doing. It's threatening this, whereas I probably should be threatening Cordoba, but I do know what Cordoba's recovery die roll is, so I'm a little scared of him. If Cordoba wants to cut up this way, let him. We'll see what happens. And these were just used as foils to try to force an action somewhere. All right, and that means it's time for attrition, and I got to pick through and do that. Ugly attrition check was Cordoba's, but there were a lot that on a 6 could have happened. Nothing attrited. And that's going to put us up to the second turn of September. We're going into where weather might start getting nasty. September 1 I could have too. I mean, September's still heat, right? Yeah, at worst. But we're getting closer to that. I've done a lot of video. There's not a lot of game left. I want to cut here and load this up. I would have done it last turn, but I didn't realize how much more pain I could add to this. I'm pretty sure I'm not doing the optional, the ahistorical scenario. The game is just not clicking with me well enough. I'll probably do the last historical scenario though, because I haven't read any rules to anything else. I'm reading a book and enjoying it and whatnot. I could jump to something that's easy, or something huge. Like, there's things that I know well enough that, like, reading the rules as the rules intro is going to be good enough for me to be able to do that. Could eat up a shitload of time and that would make people very happy. But I keep putting them off because there's other things I really want to deal with. And in the next case, it's actually a replay of something that I kind of promised towards. And, I know I have to reread the rules to be able to face it. So, yeah. All right, let's send this up and I'll play Raid or else my other stupid game with, like, little anime girls fighting. Great. I know I can always find something there. And that's where I got into the gacha games at first. Was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Okay. Yeah, it's completely mindless. Raid is not completely mindless. I just don't like the kind of thought that's involved in it, which is part of the problem. It's like, I'm fucking addicted to something I don't even really like. It's taxing me in ways that I don't like. I did see that someone, this happened once before. Someone used one of my links and played a little bit and then gave up. And I'm like, yeah, that's perfectly understandable. It's not a game that I would recommend. But I did see somebody's playing a little bit at least and might actually make it to the point where they can really help me. They helped a little bit. But you got to get to like level 50, which is not hard, to be honest. Like, I was enjoying the game up, till like level 60 or so. And then I was like, I'm putting too much effort into this, am I not? This is eating up way too much of my time. But yeah, it's kind of cool to see that somebody's actually fiddling around with it and doing something. If you need if anybody needs a link, just ask me. If you're still on this shit. Yeah, this is the way to advertise on this game, where I'm gonna get like, I don't know. I don't look to see how the distribution is in terms of play, but I know how many total views I get. It's like 100 and something, and playthroughs are not the best, but it's. I'm guessing that people are not watching the whole thing intently. I think some people put it on just, background noise, whatever. That's how I do a lot of my videos. Although I don't do it with game videos. I don't tend to watch those. Unless I have a specific question. And then I'm pretty active, but I skip around to find stuff. But it's like, yeah. This one I feel like it's been a painful experience for me. And the funny thing is, again, like Vietnam, I'm not hating, I don't hate the game. I actually respect the game. I feel like something's wrong with it, which you combine those two things, and sometimes you get me to my addiction level, which is like, things like, not that, La Révolution Française or EU or something, where I really, really focused, hard on trying to make the game work. You could see that happen here. But I feel like it's a matter of tiny degrees. Like, the Spanish points should be related to, say, Cordoba's expectations. So if he does what I did, then there should be the possibility of points coming. But on the other hand, he's here stuck in this campaign, and I don't know if it's supplies or whatnot. He does not have enough to activate as a Gran Capitan. And L doesn't give you less, doesn't make you cheaper, does it? I mean, W does. L does something. Yeah, I kind of forgot to do that, didn't I? To pay attention to his letter. I mean, he was attacking a fucking baronial. So he can create forces and not have to pay for commands. Okay. He can consolidate with other friendly forces in a contested hex. No biggie. Even just before battle. That should have been a non-affecting attack that I made. That's what I forgot. Yeah. Would that have mattered? I mean, it certainly affected the situation. But I like that this Baron here, this guy has just like defeated 2 Spanish forces. So, I mean, I'm not going to go back to it. I hit this and would have hit this instead, right? No. Let me see. I was at quality 2 versus quality 1. So I was at +1 on affecting. I would have made it here. I would have won the battle. And in fact, if I was on this row, if I was up on this row, which is possible, I had a +2 on the die roll. But I think I rolled a 2 and got here. So he should have won that battle. But I like the solution that we got instead. And Cordoba's been such a fucking pussy and a horrible leader in this game that, like, I want to take away his benefits. Wait a minute. He would have gotten +3. Yeah, there's no way he could have lost. He would have won the battle no matter what. The only question was whether he took a hit in doing so. Oops. Hey, you know. Yeah, remembering those letters. Like, I remembered he had a star. That's good enough for me, man. All right, let's send this. There's a second reason he couldn't have had the affecting terrain, which is that the earthworks don't do shit for French defenders. Forgot about that, too. I mean, it's just... so many things. These are things that I should be able to remember. The little letters, I have to say, are getting me into trouble. And even if they were written on the card with the instructions, you know, I have enough mess on the card. It wouldn't actually help. I mean, I was suggesting that, yeah, it might have helped with Saluzzo. It would not help with this. I should have been aware of that. But I definitely knew the earthworks thing and had that in mind through most of this game. So, like, again, you know, there's things that I'm struggling with, and then they're forcing me into this sort of overload of things that, like, I have to remember and everything, that things that I should have ingrained in me, that I'm pretty sure I would have normally have just sort of faded. Some of it may be my walking away regularly, although I don't feel like that should be impacting me this week at least.